Welcome to Astroventure, the DSLR astrophotography channel. Hey there, Astroventures, welcome back. If you're new to this astrophotography channel, my name is George, and this is the astrophotography channel for DSLR and mirrorless camera bodies, combined with the lenses we already own and a simple star tracker like the SkyGuider Pro or the Star Adventurer. In today's video, I want to talk to you about a recent problem that I've ran into. And before doing so, I want to give you a little scenario. Imagine, if you will, for a moment, I proudly display my little logo here saying that I am an internationally recognized gold star raffler, as in I do raffles. And let's say for a moment that I'm raffling off this beautiful telescope set up here in front of you. And in doing so, I have earned my handy dandy little badge saying that I'm this internationally gold star recognized raffler, and I offer or advertise that, hey, I'm raffling this telescope, and you approach to purchase a raffle ticket, and I tell you all about it, and then at the moment of putting down money, I explain to you, well, you can't buy a raffle ticket, which obviously would be a bit confusing because, hey, aren't you this international gold star raffler? And you told me that you're raffling this? Well, yeah, that's all true, but I was only offering one raffle ticket, and because the standards of being an international gold star raffler only require that I offer raffle tickets in some portion, and one meets that criteria, and since I first saw my wife in the morning, I sold it to her, so guess you're out of luck. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense that I have this gold star rating then if in function it's of no use. And here's what I mean. Recently, I was out to do some astrophotography at my international dark sky park, and I'm not going to name any specific parks, but the thing is that it's there's this whole 1 to 3 year process to get designated as one, and it seems kind of silly to have that designation if it's not usable. And so, being out there to use the park, I learned that I couldn't use the park because although it has this designation, you have to be out by 10 o'clock at night. And then in further discussion, which I do understand this aspect, the reason why there was this limitation is because of vandalism that happens in the park, because unfortunately there is nobody there watching the park through the night. And the park ranger informed me, however, if I was paying to be a camper in the park at one of the limited camping locations, and even though I wasn't going to be using the campsite, by paying for camping, I would have access to the park. Now, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense because their logic is that with campers, they're identified, they know who they are. I don't understand as to why it is that I can have access to the dark sky park if I'm a camper, but I can't get the same access by simply going through the same process, and rather than checking off a box and identifying as a camper, I identify as, yeah, I'm going to be out there doing astrophotography. And looking into the requirement on the dark sky park as to what they have to provide, I found it a little bit surprising, because reading specifically from darksky.org, their website, for parks to be an international dark sky park, all they have to do is provide, it must be public or private land accessible to the public in part or whole our parks, and most of you probably know this, parks have been overrun, both state and national parks, with people wanting to get out there into, the wild ever since the whole pandemic thing. And so for me to rent a campsite that I'm not going to use makes no sense, because I could just as easily check that I'm there for astrophotography, but instead I'm going to take a campsite from something that's already in high demand that will then sit empty and nobody gets to use, and a family that would love to be there, well, they're out of luck because they don't get to use it either, even when I'm not using it. So the point, having an international dark sky park designation does not mean what, in my experience, people that I know, people that I've talked to, it doesn't mean what you think it means. That as long as the designated park gives some partial access and some means they've met their criteria that to be able to have their designation. So if you have an international dark sky park trip coming up, or one that you would like to go to, you need to find out ahead of time, can you even use it? Because obviously I can't. 10 o'clock you have to be out of the park. It's not dark till 11. Additionally from there, some people will say, well, you're complaining. You just got to work with it. You just got to live with it. Well, I agree in part. There is no sense at complaining if you don't have a plan. So I'm going to share my plan with you, and I encourage you get educated on the requirements or the rules for any international dark sky park where you're at and whether you can even use it. So for myself, I found out that 1, I can't use it because you have to be out of the park by 10. 2, I can use it if I'm a camper paying a higher price for something I'm not going to use and deny a family from being able to use it. So my solution, I'm going to be reaching out to contact my political representatives for the state of Utah that are over those particular areas affected. I plan to furthermore reach out to the governor for the state of Utah, because Utah loves to absolutely tout all their dark sky parks and that we have more than any other state and the highest concentration and all of this, but there's that little caveat that you may not be able to use the park. And so I'm going to reach out and see if I can't get some change implemented, because it seems kind of silly that the state of Utah loves to advertise this fact without telling you you probably can't use it based on the in-place rules, and there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to register the same way I would if I were renting the campsite. I mean, think about it. There's really not that many of us astrophotographers out in the middle of the night. So it's not like we're talking about a monster population to try and manage. I would love to hear what experiences others have had in regards to access to a dark sky park. If you did have some problems, what did you do to resolve them? Were you able to resolve them? Did you win? Did you lose? And please share that in the comments below, as well as I would love to hear from you over at our Facebook group, AstroVenture DSLR, because your experience that you've had can certainly probably help me in trying to navigate this and see if I can't get some kind of a change, because I really think it's kind of ridiculous to tout a dark sky park designation without explaining that in all likelihood you probably can't use the thing. Now, before I let you go, I do want to say that in every experience that I have had with the park rangers, they have been nothing but professional. They've been outstanding to work with. They've been very common sense and logical. They've even acknowledged that it's kind of silly to have a dark sky park designation when the rangers, in doing their job, can't let you in there to use the dark sky park. So my point being, the rangers have been nothing but professional and understanding, and so I would hate for anybody to criticize the parks or the rangers that manage the parks, because honestly it's not them, and hopefully I can make some kind of change. So there's my rant, but the takeaway from it is before you go heading off to a dark sky park, find out whether you can actually use it or not, because the requirements to maintain that designation are pretty low, so long as you give some kind of partial access to the park in some capacity. Until next time, I wish you clear skies and uneventful nights.